welcome to Segment 3, Part 4 of our Grand Pacific Voyage aboard the Silversea Silver Muse. This time we go to Townsville, Australia, Shute Harbour, Australia, enjoy a leisurely day at sea before heading to Mooloolaba, and then finishing up this segment in Brisbane, Australia. First stop on this part of our cruise is Townsville, Australia. Townsville is a city on the northeastern coast of Queensland and is also known as Australia's Fortress City. Townsville, along with Brisbane, was proclaimed a city in 1902, with a population of 201,313 as of 2024. It is the largest settlement in North Queensland and Northern Australia. Our excursion today would be a bit of Townsville history, heritage, and gardens. We started with the Castle Hill Lookout. Just a few meters shy of actually being an official mountain, Castle Hill is a giant pink granite monolith that stands in the center of Townsville. In addition to being able to drive up by vehicle, there are a number of popular walking tracks which are frequented by more than 2,500 locals a day. The views are spectacular, and if you walk all around the lookout, you are treated to 360-degree views of Townsville. The elevation of Castle Hill was used as a vantage point used by visiting American soldiers during World War II. According to local legend, the visitors famously or infamously offered to demolish a part of the hill and use the rock to build a bridge to nearby Magnetic Island. Luckily for us, that did not happen, and Castle Hill still stands proud and complete. There is a World War II observation bunker sitting on one corner of the hill that reminds visitors of Castle Hill's military history. Hopping aboard our trusty motor coach, it was once more down the hill to visit the Strand. The Strand is a 2.2-kilometer beachfront promenade custom built for the enjoyment of the local population. The Strand is a park with bike and walkway paths, safe swimming beaches, picturesque picnic spots, playgrounds, exercise stations, a water park, and restaurants and bars with beautiful water views. The Strand is anchored at one end with the Tropical Museum of Queensland, with the other end held down by the swimming hole known as the Strand Rock Pool. The rock pool and other clearly marked areas along the beach are intended to be safe swimming areas resistant to the pervasive box jellyfish and the tiny irukandji jellyfish, also known as stingers. All of these swimming areas are known to be stinger resistant and not stinger proof, so swimming in Townsville is always at your own risk. And if you go walking on the beach barefoot, just make sure you watch where you step. There are apparently two different football clubs in Townsville, the Cowboys, and appropriately enough, the Stingers. These, of course, are Australian football teams, and from what I gathered, play rugby. Next on our tour of Townsville was the Palmedum. The Palmedum is a botanical garden featuring only one family of plants, the palms. The collection contains all 6 subfamilies within the palm family. There are approximately 60 species of palms that are native to Australia, and most are represented. The collection contains about 300 different species, many rare and threatened in their natural habitats. The Palmedum was opened in September 1988. And has continually expanded as new palm varieties and scenic walks are added. The gardens cover almost 42 acres or 17 hectares and has a range of habitats to suit the flora originating from the dry tropics through the wet tropical lowlands. The gardens are also home to numerous bird species and some wildlife, like this little fellow, a wallaby we spotted while walking through the garden. He's looking at us like, should I stay? Or should I go? Oh, should I stay? Or should I go? As you head back to the car park, you can stop at Timbleton Lodge for a quick bite or Long Shot Coffee for a coffee. Moving on, our next stop was the Ross River Parkway. The Ross River Parkway is a 30-kilometer parkway in Townsville. It's a beautiful area teeming with nature and sharing the space with the park and residential areas. While we didn't have time to walk the entire 30 kilometers, we were able to walk a chunk of it at a sedate pace and indulge in nature and a little bird watching. And soon enough, it was time to head back to the Silver Muse. Chill out and get ready for our next day's adventures in Shute Harbour, Australia. Shute Harbour is known as the gateway to the Whitsunday Islands. The population of Shute Harbour is a whopping 114 people, with its claim to fame being its port facilities and transport options for people trying to access the Whitsunday Islands and holiday destinations in the area. Our excursion today was the Whitsunday Heritage and Coastal Delights. Our tour bus driver/guide took us to this remote location to satisfy the Coastal Delights part of that excursion title. It was a beautiful spot, but we were supposed to go to Arley Beach and enjoy a cool something or other in a local hotel while looking over the beach. And after staying at this spot for just a few minutes, it was time to board our bus and head through the Sugarlands to our next stop, the Prosper Piney Museum. Located in the tiny town of Prosper Piney, the museum is frankly a incredibly mixed bag of oddities and tidbits of history. Take, for example, this collection of phones. And yes, kids, this is what we used to use back in the day. And that means back in the day of rotary phones and party lines. But now I think this switchboard might have been a little before even my time. From the quote-unquote modern kitchen of the day to military arms and memorabilia to old blacksmithing tools to what was supposed to be the largest wooden bowl in the world. But unfortunately it was not to be when the Guinness World Records said that the Prosper Piney bowl was upstaged. They decided to make the world's largest wooden ballpoint pen. But alas, that didn't work out for them either, as they were surpassed once more even before submitting the entry. Other interesting exhibits include motorcycles and Big Joe. Big Joe was a famous sugar train, transporting the sugar cane from the field to the factories, literally right outside the door of the Prosper Piney Museum. enough, it was time to leave typesetters and old pianos behind and jump back on our bus for the 1.5-hour ride back to Shute Harbour, the tenders, and on to the Silver Muse. Once more back on board, it was time for our sail away and say goodbye to the Whitsunday Islands and Shute Harbour. During the sail away, we passed several of the 74 Whitsunday Islands, and as the sun set, we were treated to a beautiful sundown while leaving the Whitsunday Islands behind. And changing for dinner, we had received an invitation to a cocktail mixer for those guests traveling on multiple legs of this journey. While it was nothing particularly special, it was a nice diversion and interlude before dinner. And dinner tonight would be once more at Atlantide, where we settled in with a nice bottle of Bordeaux and another wonderful meal. Please watch for our complete dining and drink guide coming soon. And after a bit more carousing around, it was time for bed and get ready for the next day's activities, a relaxing sea day en route to Mooloolaba. The next day was a day at sea and formal night. We awoke to calm seas, and after goofing around all day on board, it was time to get gussied up and go to dinner. And dinner tonight was once more at Atlantide. Atlantide is one of our favorite dining venues aboard the Silver Muse, offering variety and a consistently good meal. Check out our upcoming dining and drinking guide for more about Atlantide and the other dining venues aboard the Silver Muse. The next morning found us anchored in Mooloolaba. Mooloolaba and the nearby Noosa River and the Shire of Noosa are popular holiday destinations in Queensland, Australia. Once a humble fishing village, Mooloolaba and the surrounding area is now one of Queensland's most popular holiday resort areas. And we would be exploring that in more detail as we headed out towards Noosa and the Sunshine Coast. Our first stop was the rather theme parkish but rhymed Ginger Factory. The Ginger Factory is indeed just that, a factory manufacturing ginger-centric products. The large store also sells many other locally produced items, from cookies to honey to fiery habanero sauce. There is also a very nice beer garden, nice trails in a park with more shopping, guard lizards, and even a train that can take you around the entirety of the park. But as we usually do, we decided to walk it. The trails have some interesting bric-a-brac and a semi-permanent art exhibit called the Rainbrella Project. This is an exhibit by local artist Sophie Blake and is meant to symbolize a community of hope. I just personally found the various colors and the play of light through the trees on the umbrellas to be quite beautiful. We had left enough time in our schedule after leaving the ginger factory to walk directly across the street to the Nutworks. Nutworks is a real factory where they prepare various flavors of macadamias, including these chocolate-covered macadamias. Now, I must say we ended up buying way more than we should. Some of these wasabi flavored, a butter toffee flavor, a garlic and onion flavor, plain macadamias, salted macadamias, macadamias of all descriptions. And then before we could get into macadamia bankruptcy, it was time to go back to the coach and head off to the next stop of our tour. Next stop, cruising the Noosa River on the Noosa Ferry. The Noosa Ferry is a neat-looking ship, and we had an Elvis sighting while we were there. But we quickly set out on the Noosa River, headed towards Noosa Head. The Noosa River is a hub for tourists and locals indulging in all sorts of water activities, even living on the water. Dining on the water, and playing on the water. Bit more sedate than the jet skis were windsurfers and kite surfers. This is a resort area, and multi-million-dollar houses and condominiums were everywhere. Our captain was quick to point out many of the interesting features along the Noosa River. We spotted these guys. I believe they are cormorants. And more houses that I could never afford. Soon enough, and it was time to get off in the city of Noosa Head. Here, we just kind of wandered the streets, looking at the interesting shops along the main boulevard. Next to the high fashion, you have a tattoo parlor. Tattoos, anyone? We knew the beach was there somewhere, and we finally found it. Continuing our walk along the boulevard and brushing the wind-blown sand from our clothes, we decided to stop and get some frozen yogurt. Well, this looked like a good place, and it definitely was. This is one of those yogurt shops where you dispense your own yogurt, put your own toppings on it, and pay for it by weight. It was definitely pricey, but very satisfying. And after a pound or so of yogurt, we started to slip into a yogurt coma. Leaving Yochi, it was time to head back to the meeting spot for our coach ride back to the Silver Muse. We arrived back at the pier for our tender ride back to the Silver Muse to find that the seas had gotten quite rough, and they were limiting the number of people they would take on each tender. They asked for volunteers, so we hung around the pier for a bit longer and waited for the next shuttle with our newfound friends. When we were finally able to take that ride, it turned out to be rather intense. But it all turned out fine, and someone toward the end yelled out, "Daddy, can we do it again?" And once more back on the more stable platform of the Silver Muse, it was time to go to the observation library for a special goodbye to Jonathan. Our cruise director would be moving on in Brisbane to the Silver Nova.
That's so nice of you. I was honestly like, don't you also party this late in the cruise? You're really so nice.
The speech. I really have to come up for a party on my last day.
I can't believe you bought my speech.
Oh yeah, I did. I'm a very gullible person. Ladies and gentlemen, very good evening to you. This is an important message from the Australian government. Oh my God. That's so nice. I really am speechless. This has never happened to me before. This is so nice of you all. I really don't know what to say, but I want to just say thank you all very, very much. You have all been just incredible, amazing people, amazing personalities.
Oh man, there's that Broadway acting kicking in there.
Would you like a glass of wine?
Yes, I would love a glass of wine or something hotter. And I'm really gonna miss you guys.
Created by Pierre. A small souvenir of what you've had and where you've been to, all the way from Alaska, and how many 100 times you did that too. And very importantly, because nobody does trivia like you did, so we'd like to present you with an honorary doctorate in Grand Voyage trivia.
So after saying goodbye to Jonathan and Mooloolaba, we were headed towards our last stop in Section 3, Brisbane, Australia. Well, thank you for watching. Please like, subscribe, and ring that notification bell to be kept up to date with new releases. Our next stop would be Brisbane, Australia, which is the end of Section 3 and the beginning of Section 4. In Section 4, we're going to make landfall in New Zealand at the Bay of Islands, and then on to Auckland. So stay tuned for more. And as always, happy and safe travels from T's Cruise and Travel Muse.